We are live. What is up, everyone? I'm Thomas J. Bellezza, and welcome to The Right Mindset. As always, it is Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So every Saturday and Sunday, we get together and do these live videos. Saturday, educational, and today is all about write a book with me from concept to completion. All right. Now, you probably noticed there was an ad before the video, and I just want to say I am officially, since Friday-ish, I have a full monetization. So this channel is officially on the growing side of the line, and the hard work will continue, and I promise to keep trying to give you the best possible content I can for learning how to write, understanding writing, from outlining to character development to even prose and your voice as an author. With that said, today is the day, right? So today we are going to be focusing on the episode 22, is the day, right? So we have been writing and having a lot of fun with this. We've been working on this book. We are on chapter 3 today. We are working on the, as I like to call it, the third. We are on the zero draft. We are on the third chapter's zero draft. All right, but what does that mean? Well, you know, it's very simple. It means that I'm going to work out the beat. I'm going to beat out the way the chapter flows and is organized on the page, so I can sort of see what's going on. I could start determining if I should make more than one chapter for a particular plot point, and of course, it allows me to see what I need and don't need, or if I should extend certain things. Oh, what do we got here? What do we got here? Hey, Hannah Hart, welcome. I had a lot of fun yesterday at Comic-Con. Ooh, Comic-Con. I'd love to hear a little bit about that. I hope it was more than fun, but exhilarating, I believe is the hope. Exhilarating. Exhilarating. What is up, flowers? Yeah. Okay. Hey, flowers, welcome to the show. For the 4 people watching, as you can see, there is a voting option. We'll discuss that after the hour, and so please feel free to vote. Maybe we'll talk about it. Okay, so for anyone who's seeing this video for the first time, let me just do the spiel real quick. Ultimately, what I do is I'm working on a story from concept to conception, and I am showing you the ins and outs in real time of how we've done it. What is up, Ro? Howdy, everyone. So far in the adventure, we have done brainstorming dumps, so I recommend if you want to see what brainstorming looks like, go back to the beginning of the series. There is a playlist. Additionally, we worked out character arcs and basically summarized. We created summaries and said, what is going to happen with this character? We took that and we added, we started doing a short form outline, which is pretty straightforward, broad general strokes. And then, of course, we did the extended outline, which basically takes those broad strokes and creates movement. Now we are taking those extended outline beats of the plot points and we are putting them into chapters. The benefit of doing the zero draft, like I said at the top, is that it gives us a chance to see if this chapter should be 1, 2, 3, or 4 chapters. Because when I'm working on it originally, the short form outline is just focused on what happens in that plot point. Then what I do is I use the extended draft to say, well, what does that look like? How do we show some activity, maybe character movement? So we start adding the character arcs and stuff like that. If you're asking what it looks like, what I'm talking about when I say plot points, because maybe you don't know what the 27 plot point outline is. And by the way, remember, there's nothing wrong with not knowing something. That's why we ask questions. That's why we follow along on educational channels. So basically what I do is this says set up the ordinary world, and maybe the general broad idea would be, Thomas J. Bellezza is a writer, and he's going to start creating his he's going to start creating his Right Mindset YouTube channel. It's very simple, very general, broad idea. In the extended outline, I would take that and be like, well, what does that look like? What does Thomas starting his YouTube channel look like? And then I'll just extend that as far as I want. Then when we get to where we are now, which is the zero draft, we get to see all the extendedness, as you can see, and see if that could fit in a chapter, or if, as we're working out, if it should be a more chapter. What determines that? Ultimately, the length. Am I setting up? Is there a conflict or problem that has to be solved in a scene or a chapter, and ultimately, did it get resolved? If it takes me a lot to set up, it takes me a lot to conflict, and it takes me a lot to resolve, I have to work on the pacing. If I feel like it does that quickly and then there's still more information, maybe that more information would potentially be a new chapter. It's all part of the process. There is no direct way to do it. Everything is different. Every story is different. So you just have to sort of work on it, which is what we're going to do. Real quick. What do we got here? Hannah Hart says, I bought a Lolita headband, new fox ears, that are purple and pink. Oh, nice. Which matches a wig that I have. Excelente. Floral deer antlers. Can't go wrong there. A fox emblem pin and a book from an author. That's what I'm talking about. And wonderful, not only supporting authors, but also enjoying your hobbies and things that make you happy. I mean, you got to go out there and do stuff right. Hannah, I have some cat ears and some real ones on Morticia. Morticia's, we know that those are stapled on. Don't lie to us. Don't lie to us about the ears. All right, so let's get into it. Remember, during this process, you're more than welcome to ask questions as to what I am doing. If you have questions about your own stuff that maybe is a reflection of what I am working on currently or not, it doesn't matter. This is really just an hour of me talking out my process of developing story. I will say one more thing before I start. Again, for people who have not seen this video series and you just happen to jump onto this episode first, I traditionally write epic fantasy, but I am a developmental editor and a writing teacher. For this exercise, I'm challenging myself, so I'm writing a sci-fi narrative. It is going to be in first person. I traditionally write in third person limited. It's my preferred. And then, of course, we're going to take it from there. All right, so with that said, let's do it. Let's create the scene. Now, again, while I'm doing the zero draft, it is still going to be considered like broad general. I'm not writing prose. I'm not really doing immersion. I might write some dialogue, but whatever I work out here isn't necessarily what's going to end up being cleaned up and perfect, or I should say developed in the first draft, which would technically, if we're looking at the list, the first draft is down here. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Okay. All right, let's get into it. A lot of stuff has to happen before we get to the first draft. And the reason is because we want it to look tight and pristine to a point where we have the most control. Because once the foundation is set, then you can start dressing it up. You can't paint a house until you know the house won't fall over. You know what I'm saying? All right. They currently still in hyperspace movement. The environment is flying around them, and they can't just stop where they are. Must wait until the device brings them to the travel point. Oh, I like that. Okay. All right. What do we got here? I don't even have the thing on the screen. I apologize for that. I also met some of my coworkers there as well. The booth I was hoping to see wasn't there. The name of the booth is Floral Frolic. I wanted to buy some of them from them. It would have been nice if they showed up, you know? It was like they were hiding. They were like, we can't handle how awesome Hannah Hart is. We're going to have some breathing room. But maybe they'll be there next time, and that'll definitely be, a victory. All right, so let's get into it. Sorry I didn't have, I don't know how much I didn't have, but okay. So let's, if you're wondering, I like to show things kind of worked out in patterns. So right now I want to sort of work on this. What does this beat of the plot point look like? Okay. And again, I'm not writing it in prose yet. Again, it's supposed to be in first person, but right now it doesn't matter. When I'm working on the zero draft, none of that matters. In fact, the spelling and set and structure and none of it matters. So, all right, they are currently still in hyperspace. I'm going to start off with this. Put it here and then build on it, okay? She was moving and shaking. Laura Olivia strapped to a chair. There is one thing I have to look up. Let me see. I think just looking at something. 1 second. Oh, that's right. They were already in the cockpit. Okay. Coming on with ideas. Coming up with ideas is the easiest part. You'd be surprised. I've been in many writer rooms where they're like, what do we do next? And it's like, stuff has to happen. Let's figure out what needs to happen. And they're like, all right. And then you just have people just coming up with weird ideas. But that's the thing. There are no such thing as bad ideas. So even the weirdest ideas sometimes turn into the most logical ideas, especially once they get stripped down and like really orchestrated. All right. The ship is moving and shaking. Lauren is strapped to her chair, holding the gears to the ship. All right. The computer is telling her that the ship has been compromised. Talking about the damage, but that's not what the computer says at first. Then the computer mentions that there are foreign bodies on the ship too. Okay. Oop. These. All right. Those people are standing in and around the pilot's cabin next to her. Laura says that she knows. Thanks. All right. That's to say, I come up with ideas, but then I keep thinking about a whole bunch of new ideas, which makes me start over again. You know, during the brainstorming process, it is all about thinking ideas and letting it fester, linger. You want it to stew. You know, sometimes it's about walking around, walking your dog, maybe cleaning dishes, maybe when you're taking a shower, maybe if you go for a walk, maybe if you're taking a nap, whatever the case may be. It is important to let stuff linger and not necessarily jump right into it. Part of the brainstorming process is to see where those ideas kind of go naturally as a writer, because you know it's still in the the harder part is staying on when I agree with that. I was a little stuck today on something, but I went for a walk and there you go. And I was only outside 5 minutes and it all flushed before me. Hope I didn't startle anyone driving by. That's funny. You know, and the advantage of that, psychologically speaking, is that if you do something that is different than what you're focused on, the change or the pattern interruption actually helps restart or revigorate ideas. And especially, a lot of people in the world have learning disabilities. They may be small or big or whatever the case may be. I know I have a learning disability between dyslexia and a couple other things. But it's those doing something and then it allows your brain to work differently. Those are, you know, for example, learning. I learn better by watching somebody accomplish something than somebody explaining it to me. That's why I like doing the series, because I'm doing it in real time. Because that's one of the learning processes for me. So when it comes to even brainstorming, that's the same thing. Maybe your brain gets stuck or hits walls because it's focused, but if you kind of distract it a little bit, it opens up. So it's always a really nice thing. Hey, Cindy, welcome. Good morning. All right. By the way, this is a little joke. So like the computer's like, hey, you know, there's people on the ship and they're all standing around her, and she's like, yeah, I know. Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. You know, so it's a little visual gag. All right, let's keep it going. So what did I just do there, by the way? We have to set up the scene. There's two things or three things you really have to set up when you're bringing in a new chapter. The first thing is setting. What is the environment? And that doesn't just mean like, are they in a house? The environment means like, what is the positioning? What is the setting? So right now the setting is Laura is she's piloting the spaceship. There are people around the cabin and they are flying through hyperspace. Now, obviously, once I get into the prose of it, I'm going to write that out. I'm going to show that more than I'm not going to write what I just wrote here. This is so I understand what's happening, the simplest version of what's happening. So when I'm writing, I don't have to think about it. I go, oh, this is what's happening. Let me now dress that up. But right now, I'm doing the first part of setup, which is always about establishing the environment. Who's there? What's going on? The atmosphere, potentially, which in this case, she has them all around her. Things like that, okay? The second part of setup is context. We need to really know what this chapter is about. And that doesn't always have to be directly stated. In some cases, especially this version, we realize that the gang leaders in the last episode hijacked the ship. So, what's the next part? Well, what are they going to do from this point? They're on the ship. Where are they going? Are they going to take care of her? Do they need to land somewhere specific? Are they meeting another ship? Whatever the case is. However, the third thing that you should be doing is also setting up the characters' motivations within the scene. Now, before you can challenge anything, we need to know those things for context. We need to know the environment, so we are not in a white room, as they would call it, where they're just kind of like floating. Hey, we're just characters. We need to know the context of what the chapter's about, so we can challenge that. We can create a problem or conflict. And then we need to know what the characters' motivations are, so we can understand where and what or why they're going to do or not do certain things, or say or not do say certain things. So this is the first part of setup. We're going, what's the environment? All right, this is obviously going to be the conflict, but we have to set up a gang member number 3. All right, gang member 3. All right, grabs Laura by her collar, screaming at her. She could have gotten them killed. Laura. Frightened, but trying hard to keep her cool, says that they would have been safer if they didn't do whatever got the authorities to chase them onto my broke ass ship. Anyway. Okay. So what am I doing here? I'm establishing Laura's character here. She is not witty in the sense of like she has nothing can harm her, nothing bothers her, but more or less, I'm writing frightened because I do want to show her that she is out of her realm and out of her element. But because she is frightened, it makes her say certain things. It makes her make light of certain things, or maybe she just speaks the truth, but like. Obviously, she is naive in that sense because there are bigger things at play that she might not be aware of. So that's why I wrote frightened here. Okay, now obviously in writing you wouldn't necessarily tell the audience that she's frightened. You would just show her behavior as frightened. She'd probably be stuttering, she'd be fidgeting, whatever the case may be. But at the same time, we're also I'm getting insight into who she is as a character mentally. So this might not be what ends up being dialogue. This might not necessarily be what ends up on the page. But for me, this is telling me who Laura is. It's behavior. Listening but working on a Sunday? Come on. This is the rest day. Remember, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, rest days. So that's why I wrote that, because that's informative for me. All right, anyway. The leader steps. Right now. Gang member 3. Okay. Places a knife to her neck. And that the computer will lead us to the next location. We don't need her. She's doing. All right. So, what do we got? Hey, Hannah Hart. Also, I'm on my very first vacation week. I have 4.5 weeks. Yes, that's what I like hearing. Vacation week. Yeah. All right. So why did I write this little beat here? Way to go, Hannah. The reason I wrote this beat is it's important for me to, because this is the note, right? I have to establish gang member 3. That means I have to show him a little bit more on the page. I have to create some sort of relationship with him, and not only the reader but the other characters. So we know he's going to die. I think he flies out at the end of this thing. But the point is, we have to establish him on the page so he isn't just like a no name that flies out. Obviously, he's a no name right now because I don't have a name for him. But you don't want him to just be a no name and then just kill him. You want to have stakes. You want to have that there's tension and potential threat, right? That people can die in this story. People that are character names. People that have a voice. People that have agency. Right now, he has agency. He is making choices. Agency. He is threatening her. Agency. He's making logical leaps, right? Even though they're fallacies, because he doesn't know. So what I'm gonna do here is let's see. Okay, Laura says that's not true. You need someone to stop the ship too, and fly it down to the ground. All right, and then we'll have So let's keep it going with this little thing. Gang member 3 says that landing is not a problem if you don't care about the ship's surviving. Oh, that's funny. All right. Oh, what do we got here? Could you do an example of the snowflake method? I want to try that writing method. Yes, I can, but let me do that towards the end. I will do the snowflake method for you, just because it would be me giving you a big long example, and I'll be comfortable doing that at the end of the hour. So that might be helpful. Do 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 do. All right. Boop 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 boop. All right, where are we? Da-da-da. But yes, I'll be happy to do that. I was just writing a note to myself to go over the snowflake method. Yeah. All right. Okay, gang member 3 says that landing is not a problem if you don't care about the ship surviving. Steps. B to gang member 3. The love interest just asks if she could just stop the hyperspace now and redirect. All right, and I think the note up here says they can't. Right? This is because they use the ship and doesn't have a hyperspace travel capability on its own. If it did, okay, so they must wait until it brings them to the traveling point. Okay, so she says no because the device takes you where it's set up to be. I just hit a bunch of buttons to get us out of there. The leader asks why she didn't put in a real destination. Laura says because some random people decided to hijack my ship and have the authorities shoot at me. Okay. I think that's funny. Don't worry about spelling, because that gets fixed later. All right. Okay, let's give gang member 3 one quick little thing. Gang member 3 says that we'd be better off just killing her, but and he walks off frustrated. Okay, now we have to get to the next. So I took that first thing, which was just basically this. I took this first beat in the extended outline and I expanded that into what I would consider 3 complete beats. So we explore the setup, and then we're starting to give some character motivations and positions, and then finally we resolve that first introduction moment. And now we're going to move on to this part, which is the emergency alarm goes off because the ship is damaged. Okay. Let's do this. Let's do this. And just for the record, if I'm all the way to the if the dot is all the way to the left, that means it's a new beat that's happening. It's creating pace. Basically, as you can see, this has, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 beats. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 beats. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4 beats. And you could kind of see like this, like, you know, sometimes it's a little higher, sometimes a little lower. Sometimes you'll see, you know, moments of going, like I might, you know, you'll just see it like this. You know, it'll just be a whole bunch of these because they're just a quick moment, and then like it just switches to the next moment. And that creates a faster pace because it's the speed at which information is being presented to the audience. This is actually going to be its own beat in itself, so I want to explore this particular beat, which is while they are there. Let's see what that looks like. All right, so well in hyperspace, the ship's emergency things go off. Okay. The leader asks, can think. All right. What am I obviously establishing here? Not that the love interest, I call him the love interest just because that's what he is going to end up being, but I'm establishing that he is not necessarily as aggressive as the other people, mostly because we find out later on that he's also not necessarily a part of this group. He just kind of got onto the group because he had a secondary purpose. But at the same time, we're showing that he has maybe a cooler head. We're kind of showing who he is by behavior. You know, it's not that he's quote unquote protecting Laura, but you know, everyone, he's understanding the situation. He's having empathy to the situation. You know, it's crazy. All these people are in the cabin with her now, and they just hijacked her, and she's just doesn't know what's going on. So I'm trying to show his behavior and give him some time to establish himself as somebody that we can be like, hey, that guy at least is using his brain. I think I'm gonna really enjoy writing the computer. I'll be honest. Anything that's snarky, I like computers or like you know, secondary characters that are just smart asses. That's just one of my things. Oh yeah. All right. Let's see. Oh, okay. Wait. We got one more time. One more beat I gotta do. All right. Laura asks the computer to figure it out and elaborate. Elaborate. Okay. Okay. The computer explains that Where is it? I think it's just damage. Okay. Something damaged the outer ship, body, and integrity. All right. Gang member 3 gets nervous, asking the computer if the ship is going to rip apart. The computer says that it can't respond to that because he is rude. Rude. Laura. Same question. Yes. All right. Says the computer. Okay. What we got here? Okay. Yes, dear computer, make note to wipe memory if computer doesn't stop referring to the captain as dear. That's funny. That's funny. All right. All right. So Laura, I think this is the next part. Okay. They need to patch the hull before hyperspace stops. All right. Okay. All right, I got an idea for a funny beat. Okay. Laura checks to see what planet, and she says that she hit any button to get out here. She was nervous. She's been never been hijacked before. This is actually this we already kind of did. So I'm going to take this and kind of fill in what we said. I just I'll just say that right there. See that? See, I naturally just got there anyway. Boop. Okay. All right. She says that she needs to check the hull and other things. All right. The leader threatens her again, saying that she better not do anything silly. Obviously, I'm going to change the word. I'm just saying that. All right. The love interest steps in, says, right now, she's the expert. We should learn to her. Gang member 3 says that she's no expert. She just hit buttons, and the computer took us here. All right. Okay. All right. So that is the first, as you can see, the official. We have set up the chapter and scene. Okay, so this is the first beat. If we go to this, we have this hyperspace, fix the hull, and out of hyperspace. So I would say that we have to do the words here. Let's do the word count. 715. Okay. Boop. 715. There we go. Okay. Now, we have to get to this part. Actually, I should add this one little thing. I'll watch her. Show me where we need to go. All right. And this is the love interest. Says the love interest. Okay. I will add that to the word count. Let's do that. Boop. 729. Boom. Okay. Where are we? Where are we? Now we are on fixing the hall. So, first things first, same as the verse. Okay. This is going to be a hard chapter break because we're just going to skip right to being in the back doing what we have to do. Okay. Boop, boop. Okay. Words. Oh, yeah. Flew through that opening, huh? As a fun question to the audience to get you involved a little bit, what did we set up in the opening scene of the chapter? How did we set up the chapter? You know, what did we establish with that setup? And how does it move the plot forward? Any one of those questions you can answer, feel free to. I'd love to hear your perspectives on it. All right. Laura Liver is checking the hall. All right, let's just get right to this. Laura Liver is checking the hall, rushing around and getting items. Okay, no one is helping her yet. The gang is demanding she hurries. Okay, let's do this. I set up ice cream. That is a victory. All right, let's see. Okay, so Laura is checking the hall, rushing around, getting items. Okay, she's moving around the love interest, standing there. Gang member 3 has his gun out and is standing nearby, watching her. Okay. No one is helping her yet. Okay. The gang is demanding. Okay. Let's just do this. Gang member 3 demands. Demand she hurries on. One of the other gang members steps to the gang to gang member 3, telling them that now it's just getting ridiculous. We get it. You're tough. Let her do her thing. All right. The love. Oh, wait. Okay. All right. Now, get to this part. You see that? Sometimes we don't have to extend things too far. You know, you just kind of give it back and forth. But just as some insight to forward thinking. Again, this is just setting up what the most important thing is in the rhythm of the scene. So the rhythm is that I'm going to have to write prose out that show her checking. Like, for me personally, because I like a cinematic kind of view of what we're experiencing while we're reading, I wouldn't just write Laura Olivia ran around or rushed around getting items and checking the hall to make sure it's set. I wouldn't do that. However, there's nothing wrong with that approach either. You know, that is technically telling to keep the pace and speed going. I like to move through character. Now, again, I'll be writing in first person, so it will be a slightly different. We'll have a little bit more commentary from Laura. You know, we'll be understanding what she's thinking in her head without them being thoughts per se. She'll have comment. But in this situation, I would be basically going through the immersive feel of checking the metal, moving around, hearing the beeps and booms, maybe moving wrenches. So just this quick line right here might turn into 2 prose. The first one might be her trying to get to the hall or check the hall, and then the second one is her doing whatever's needed to check the hall, and then her realizing something and now rushing around. So now the third pro, which doesn't mean the pro will be long, but there'll be a third pro, and now she's rushing around. What does that look like? How do I write that? Where is she rushing around? And then what kind of items are she getting, right? And that's because right now, specific is not important. Specific is not important at the moment, but it will be once we start writing a prose. But right away, this might be 2, 3, 4 prose just for this one line. Those prose might be a sentence long, 2 sentences long, maybe 4 sentences long. We don't know yet. There might be dialogue mixed between those prose. We don't know yet, right? So there's a lot of room for interpretation. This is why I like this method, because I'm not holding myself down by what I wrote, where I'm like, oh, I wrote this, so this is exactly what it is. But I'm giving myself room to build on. I can play with Laura Olivia checks the hole. Because remember, plot is what needs to happen. Plot by itself is boring. No one cares that somebody's eating a cake, but why they're eating a cake, how they're eating the cake emotionally. What does the cake taste like? We want to be there with them, not they ate a cake, right? So this is what needs to happen no matter what. Laura Olivia needs to check the hole. But how she gets to check it, you can do anything you want to get her to experience checking the hole. And that comes with writing the draft. Now, again, when I'm going to write the first draft, I might not have as much immersion. It might just be taking the plot and expanding it into what is happening. But it'll be written through the experience of Laura. But we'll get to that. Okay. All right. Now we get the next beat. And what he can do to help. Laura asks him if he's ever worked on a ship or knows how to use a... we're going to say wrench right now, but I think I'm going to make up a tool name here. Sometimes you don't have to. Sometimes it's just... for example, sometimes a horse should just be a horse. And I was just talking to my friend about this the other day. We were saying, to make dragons realistic, you have to have something realistic, right? Because you have to ground people in the know to explore the fantastical. A sword is the real. It's the know. We understand that. But a sword that that you can throw and then is called back to your hand, we can now associate that with realism within that fantasy story because we know what a sword is. We know how a sword works. Now we're just making it extraordinary or fantastical. So, sometimes it might be good to just say she's using a wrench. But what I'm doing here is allowing myself an opportunity to do some world building. So, maybe it's used like a wrench, and I describe it being used like a wrench, but maybe they call it which would be a lot of letters. But all I'm saying is, while you're working on the zero draft, or even the extended draft or the short form there, sometimes it's okay to add opportunities to say to yourself, well, what could I change here to make it world building? For example, in the epic fantasy world, I had an opportunity to have a character going across the desert, and instead of going across the desert on a camel, I created a new creature that is a mammal, but it has legs like a tarantula, except they're furry, not the spider leg kind of stuff. It's just the way their legs work. The first 2 legs actually operate as feelers and have claws on them where they can actually grab things with them. And the creature also can sleep and then maintain direction. And while it sleeps, those front hands will feel around to make sure they're not walking into anything bad. So they're high quality mount creatures. And also I made them highly empathetic. They show emotion, all these other little things. So I took what would traditionally be a camel, And I says, well, here's an opportunity to create some world building and develop a new animal. So whenever you can, it's little things or big things, but your job is to say, how can I make this unique, right? What can I do? So that's just a note for me. It doesn't mean that I will change it to something else, but if you see those opportunities, I recommend writing a note or trying to get it going. All right. Okay. Boop. Okay. He's good at following orders. He agrees with. That's character development. We just learned something about him. That creates what I'm sure you've heard me talk about it. Positions. A character's position is what they believe in, how much they believe in it, or whatever the case may. And you're always going to challenge those beliefs. You always want to challenge positions to see if they change completely, somewhat, or not at all. If they don't change at all, they double down. But he's good at following orders he agrees with. That creates a position. All right. Lord tells him to help with searching for a faint whistle sound or cool air. Okay. So this is they begin the process, right? They begin the process. Okay, let's see. All right. Okay. Obviously, this sets up the stakes. Okay. There are more than one spot. She does make the statement that it is manageable if we deal with it now, which, by the way, dealing with it now creates what we call the clock. The clock has been set. Alfred Hitchcock is famous for this, with setting a bomb timer. And, the bomb timer's at 5 minutes. Well, that starts creating the tension. So they know, you as the reader, by the way, know that the ship is eventually going to, as we call it, stop. And if it stops, the hull could break up, or they could be in danger. So there is a time frame. So what we're going to do is that we have time to deal with now. So let's officiate jalapeno peppers. I love anything that is not hot. So jalapeno peppers are out. Jalapeno peppers. I would lose on that hot wing show on YouTube. So I'm going to add something here. Laura asks the computer when they'll be stopping. Because I think they don't. Yeah. It says they have X amount of distance, and then tells her the time amount. Okay. Chicken, I don't mind them, but not a lot in salsa, yeah, and lots of sour. Well, actually, I'll be honest. After I had the cancer and the operation and all this other stuff, seeds. It's seeds. I'm not allowed to eat seeds. So tomato seeds, jalapeno seeds, any kind of seeds. So pepper seeds. So anything that has seeds in it, they tell me to stay away from, because seeds, for someone like me or people similar to me, the seed has a sugar in it, and the sugar is bad for people who have had a cancer. But more importantly, it burns when you eat them. No. All right. Yeah, I love pepper. I like red peppers and green peppers, but if I'm going to eat a pepper, I have to clean it out completely. I can't just eat raw pepper mixed into, I have to be careful with that. And then I can't even eat sesame seeds, which is stupid. Well, it's not stupid, it's smart, but bummer going in and out. Yeah. Bummer going in and out. Yeah. Oh yeah, because it's hot. I'm sorry. My brain was like bloop, 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 calculating. I'm glad I'm better too. I have some side effects from it, but I can't work out anymore. Really, I can't do certain. I can't lift things. My stomach's all messed up from it, but I survived. So that's the good part. That is the good part. But luckily, I'm a writer, so I don't have to pack out shelves. You know what I'm saying? So I thankfully it worked out. All right. And it's been a long time. It's been 2016 is when so it's a long time ago. So you can't have sweets either. Are you saying because the coconut plant? I don't really eat sweets as it is. If I do, I eat hard candy. And by hard candy, because I suck on it. Occasionally I'll have a chocolate, but this it's not sweets have sugar. It's a sugar that's in the seed. It's what sugar in seeds is bad for cancer? Traditional sugar has no effect on the cancer particularly. But there's a glucose sugar or something that is in. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I'm just basing it off what the doctor told me. But they said there's something in the seeds. So like sesame seeds, I can't eat the sesame seeds, stuff like that. What are you able to eat that you like a lot? Chicken. I love chicken. I like chicken. Pizza, obviously. And then that's it. I love chicken. I used to eat meat a lot, like hamburgers and stuff, but I brought that down just for health reasons. For a healthy heart. So I'll only eat certain hamburgers and stuff like that once in a blue moon. But chicken is really good. I love broccoli. Fun fact: when I did get cancer, and they were like, "You got cancer, you got," I had a month before I was going to go in for operation, so I just made the choice to just eat greens, raw greens, and steam the greens, and I ate just anything green. So it was just broccoli, lettuce, romaine lettuces, green peas, not the string beans, peas, and then cucumbers. This is before the seed thing. And then anything else. So basically lots of salads, but I'd either eat them, heat it up, because I love steamed broccoli and cauliflower. When I went and got the operation, what was supposed to be like 4 hours ended up being like 40 minutes. And they said it was because my body's, the environment inside my body, my blood was well taken care of, and the inside of my body made it just so easy for them to work. And the doctor was like, "Did you eat a lot of broccoli and greens over the last month?" I go, "Yeah, that's all I ate." And he was like, yeah, it helped. And I was like, wow. All right. Seeds maybe because they have sharp edges and we don't chew them properly, so that might irritate the. Maybe. My cancer was kidney and node related. Cheeses. I love cheese. Of course, I'm Italian. That goes without saying. I'm Sicilian. I gotta eat the cheese. It's part of my blood. All right, let's do this. We got a couple more minutes. So they fix a few spots. We're doing so. All right. The time seems like they have enough if they get to work now. By the way, seems, you wouldn't use that in actual prose. You would try to avoid seems or appears. And the reason is because it's considered not confident writing. So confident writing is when you write with an author's voice that is clear, informative, and specific. And seems or appears means that it might be or it might not be. So it takes away the confidence. If a character is experiencing something where they do not know what it is, it's stronger writing to acknowledge that the character is not aware, that they don't, like, it doesn't, to them it isn't the thing that they think it is. Or, for example, it appears friendly. It's better to write it where the character is experiencing it as they are friendly, if that makes sense, because now it does appear that they are friendly. So that's just an example of when they say, "Oh, this has confident writing." That's what it means. It just means that what you're writing, it's written with an expertise of surety, clarity, things like that. All right. They're having a conversation that shows the character. It's coming. Calm. This is the calm before the fall. That's good. Let's see. Well. What's it called? A weld. Weld. All right. All right, let's do boop. 0. She says, well, turning the welder back on. Another metal element for the welding. I gotta look that up. That's before turning the welding on again. Okay. When she stops. Okay. I'm actually going to take this and put this here as a note. Because what we're doing is this is a false sense of calm for the narrative. Like the reader will be like, "Oh, everything's going well," but it's just a little point of interest where the characters sort of get to explore some things. All right. I have to add a beat. All right. I have to add this beat up higher. Let's do this. Let's do this. All right. 1 second. All right. You'll see. You'll see. We got to set it up. We got to set it up. All right. The love interest is hanging out nearby, though he's a hologram. Laura is searching for the hole breaks. Okay. Damn. The reason this is happening because of this, we could just have this, is because these stones on it. Small. Okay. All right. Ba 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 ba. All right. Love interest. Arise back, stepping into place of the hologram. Laura Olivia noticed a glitch and him pocketing something that he took off the wall. Okay. Let's do this. Beep. From what was said, and as he arrives back. Okay. Okay, there we go. This we're gonna actually take away because now we know that he wasn't there. So, actually, you know what we could do? We could do to make it a little bit. I like this idea of the hologram, but all right, we can't do it. We can't do it. All right, one of the gang members ends. Right, we're gonna get rid of that. Okay, here we go, and we can keep that. There we go. We just did the next beat. What's that? 461. 461. All right. All right, there is a note I'm going to give myself to do when we come back next week. Note to self for edit. Go through and add a touch of urgency and build up the conflict a touch more. Okay, that's a good note. All right. Okay, here we go. An hour has been accomplished. Boom. All right, there we go. We got 2 scenes done. Then we get to do the plop out. The plop out. There we go. All right. I feel good about that. Hannah. Hannah Hart, you still in the room? You still on the video? Hannah Hart, are you still there? All right. Hannah Hart. I'm gonna do the snowflake example, but if you're not here, I won't do it. You know, but. For outlining. All right, okay. Oh, yes, I am. Been looking at my Yu-Gi-Oh. All right. Okay, so let me get the definition of the snowflake just so I could read it out. So, what is the definition of the snowflake method for narrative writing? All right. Okay. Boop. For the record, this is pretty much what we're doing, but okay. Yu-Gi-Oh cards. All right, so this is pretty much what we are technically doing. We are so the snowflake method for narrative writing is a structured approach to outlining and planning a novel or story. It's a method developed by Randy Ignormason based on the fractal structure of Koch snowflaking. So basically, if we are to look at the rules, here they are as per the Google. Okay, what is that? Boop. Boop. All right, so you start off with a small, then you gradually expand, and then boom. All right, so this is just the verbiage of what it is, and not necessarily the technique in action. But you begin with a single sentence summarizing the core of your story, like an elevator pitch, which is what we do with the short form outlining. So with short form outlining, we just say, you know, Thomas wants to start up a YouTube channel called The Right Mindset. Okay. Starting small, like I should have worked out. That's right. All right, then you gradually expanding. You then progressively add layers of detail, expanding the initial summary into a paragraph. Then character sketches, scenes. So progressively expanding on the initial summary. So Thomas wants to start up a YouTube channel called The Right Mindset. He recently retired. We'll just retired from being an actor. And, he has eaten a lot of pizza, but it's time for him to take a break from the hard life and do something funny. Okay? So we just expanded a little bit on that, right? Now you want to build a comprehensive outline based on that. So by the ending of the process, you have a detailed blueprint. So basically, this is literally what we did with the 27 plot point outline, Hannah. So if I were you, I would just recommend watching this video series either from the beginning or check out. Let me get uno momento, por favor. I'm gonna put a link in the thing for you, for me, for everyone. Where is it? Where's my video? Where is it? Aliens. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Alien. Ask me anything. Ask me anything. All right, give me that. Options. Get shareable link. Here you go, Hannah Hart. Go ahead. If you watch that video, it follows the snowflake method. The only thing that's really completely different is that I'm doing it through the 27 plot point outline, and I go from, as you can see, I go from the character summaries, which is the shortest form of brainstorming, where it's just a quick summary of what I want the character to go through and what they're dealing with. What is up, Nicole? Booping the like button. But then I expand on that slightly. I take the character's arc and I break it up into beats throughout the 27 plot points. So we set up their ordinary world, we challenge it. There's a reaction to that, and then there's a long-term reflection, and then so forth and so on, right? Then I take those and I expand each one of those plot point beats into what I would call scenes or chapters. So, and then we get to the zero draft, which is what we're doing now. So it's basically literally what we've been doing. So instead of showing an example of that, you could just either watch this entire series again, and or you can go to the video that I sent you. All right, with that said, or if you're dense like me, watch all his videos on the process. There's nothing wrong with watching all the videos, nor are you dense, sir. All right, I know some of you have questions, so if you have any questions you want me to answer, I think now is the time. We did an hour. I think we did really well with that. So let's get into the nitty-gritty. If you have questions, please ask them in the comments below. While that's going on, I'll do all the other stuff, all the rig tag ticka ticka tag. All right, so I don't know if you know, but makearightlefthehere.com. This is where you can find my stuff. This is all my books, all my services. If I'm teaching classes, etc., 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 etc. Make a right left here. Do you have what it takes to make a right left here? Do you punk? Do you punk? If you haven't done so already, please subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out. We are currently at 2,139 subscribers. Ooh, what do we got? Flashbacks, not flushbacks. Yes, those damned things. Ha ha. You've shown me I should continue in the tense I've been writing in. I don't have to make it so passive. I don't even know if I've described that correctly. You write the scene as if it's happening at the moment, not by using the little stars. I have a terrible habit of doing that. Oh, those edits are gonna hurt. So what's the question? You show me I shouldn't. To basically address that, yeah, like when you're writing a flashback, like you wouldn't like it wouldn't be like Tom is sent. Oh wait. Boop, 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 boop. Tom is sent at his computer, glancing over at a photo of his dog. All right, and then like, you wouldn't go, and his puppy sits on the floor beside him, and barks. Yeah, because it's so like. You wouldn't do that because the tenses would be distracted. And even if you did it the other way, if you go, Thomas sits at his computer, glancing over at a photo, and then you go, his puppy sat on the floor beside him and barked. Like you wouldn't do that. Like he had come to know blah blah blah. The sort of bloop 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 just cut for him. How exactly? I've managed to control my flashbacks by having bits and pieces and mostly emotionally. Yeah, I mean, sometimes you got to manage it how you got to manage it, you know. But at the end of the day, like even this, you know, you don't want to do it that way either, because what happens is, oh wait, I don't know what's going on. This is too big. Like you don't want to come back and you know, he's like 1 second. Thomas shook his head of the memory and got back to typing. Like you don't want to do that. I'm writing in past tense, but I took a flashback to be the character talking about the past. Well, even if they're talking about the past, it's still being talked about in the present. If it's dialogue, that's different. Dialogue, you're allowed to change the tenses because it's somebody talking. You know, people don't talk in proper grammar or whatever the narrative. Narrative is different than dialogue. But if you're writing in past tense, and then he's LSD is bad. Good. What I think you're saying is that maybe he's talking. So like Thomas sits at his computer, glancing over at his dog. His wife comes in and asks him what's wrong. My dog. I thought about my dog, or I am thinking about my dog. He is something important to me. All right, wait a minute. now he is gone. Okay, so like that is technically right. So this is present tense. Right, so Thomas sits at his computer, glancing over at a photo of his dog. His wife comes in. Technically, I should go. What's wrong? His wife asked, coming in to his office. All right, and I'm thinking about my dog. He's something. He's something important to me, and now he's gone. He's gone. I tell you, he's gone. Anyway, is that what you're asking? Like the dialogue changes tense. If it's dialogue, it doesn't matter. Like the dialogue could be any tense you want. You know, what's wrong? But like you just want it to make sense. You want people to talk in a natural way. So like they're not going to talk in a different tense just to talk in a different tense. I might not be understanding the question correctly, but I understand what you're saying. Where like in the present timeline, they're discussing what has happened in the past, but if they're experiencing it, and you've already set up the tense to be past tense, you have to remember this is gonna sound weird, but the character's still explaining it in the past. Because past tense is just that we are experiencing a story that has happened. And present tense is we're experiencing a story that is happening. Now, if it's in present tense and you want to be a little stylistic and the past, like the flashback, is in past tense, but he's not explaining it, it's just a scene in the past, you can do that stylistically. You can then take these hard chapter breaks and now you could write in past tense because, ultimately it is taking place in the past. Ciao, bello. Emma, you've made it to the questions, the question part. Do you have any questions, Emma? Do you have any questions about writing? I doubt it. You're a great writer, right? You're like me. You don't need questions. I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying there. Look at that. All right. I hope that answered your question. I don't know if it did, but it is what it is. I'm happy to clarify if obviously. Anyway. Emma, what did you make for dinner tonight that we didn't get to share together, huh? Everyone else got to eat. The puppy had better be... No, the puppy in that example is past tense. Past. It did make sense. All right, good. I hope it did. All right, let's talk about the... If you're watching and you haven't voted yet, let me give you a minute or two to vote. Please vote in the thing. What's the hardest part of the writing process for you? A, coming up with ideas. B, starting the process. C, editing and revising. D, overcoming writer's block. E, sharing pizza. Okay. Go ahead. What's your question? It's a past tense pupper. Ruff, ruff, ruff. It is past tense. I made linguine. Oh, are you Italiano? You just live in England? What's going on here? Yeah, you make my mouth water. Blue or black ink? Obviously, it's always blue ink. All right. Picornio. All right. Oh, lovely. Ro. Very funny. Very funny. Blue ink. Yeah, it's always blue ink. Always blue. The pen is blue. All right. I'm going to let's see. What is the conclusion to the vote? We are 50% of you said that black. I'm an ex-nurse. All right, I will. My teacher would say red. Though I love a red pen, the power. See, red. That's funny. The power, unlimited power. All right. So the vote ended with 50% said editing and revising, 25% starting the process, 25% overcoming writer's block, and 0 said coming up with ideas. So let's get into it. Editing and revising. So if anyone's here still in the live stream and you voted for editing and revising, what is it about editing and revising that makes it the hardest part of the process? Please let me know in the comments below, and I'll be happy to kind of talk about that. Me. While we're doing that, I think I did the please subscribe element of that. Is there anything else that I did? I don't think I did anything else. Lol. Me. Where's the other thing? Yeah, so if you anyone who has what makes editing difficult, please let me know. I love starting a book. Editing can suck. You can be too close to your work and not be able to see what needs to be changed. Well, I agree with that 100%. Yeah, but that's why you got to take a break, a week, a month, maybe 2 months off. Though when you're taking that break, remember, you can still work on other narratives. You can work on other books, and it just gives you sort of like a refresh palette. So Emma's definitely right here. It's because you're so intimately biased by the book. You not only know what's on the page, but you know what's off the page. You know the stuff that motivates your characters, and you know the reasoning behind stuff. You know what the payoffs are. So you're able to see what others won't be able to see on a first-time read. So that does make it difficult. Getting rid of your babies. Oh, yes. When they don't fit. Making sure your seating is answered later. Consistency of clothing. Oh, yeah. That's... yeah, let me talk about that. I usually take at least a fortnight, 14 days, between drafts. Fun fact, every time they say fortnight in Game of Thrones, I would definitely make a joke about it. Yes, having read it 4 or more times, I hated my book by the time I pushed it. People say that. I love reading the book. Like when I'm working on it, I'm in it to win it. I really enjoy the revises and stuff like that, and just giving a little look-see. Fart night. Ha 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 ha. All right, so let's get into this. Fart night. Row. Oh wait, I don't need to show any examples. All right, so getting rid of your babies. Let's talk about that first. So getting rid of your babies. Okay, the first and foremost, you got to remember. At the end of the day, you can always keep that scene for another book, another story. I always say don't erase everything, just put it to the side. But your job is to make sure you're asking the right questions and making sure, because writing is easy. Thomas met Sarah. That's easy. But working out who Tom is and who Sarah is, how they met, why they met, what is the meet cute, how does it expand? Like all that is the writing part. That is actually, because writing is thinking a story, because technically when you're jotting stuff down, that's just the muscle memory. That's just you doing your job. I already know the story because I did the writing part. I wrote out things, ideas, I got stuff going. I know how to connect stuff, right? But it's asking questions and everything. That is part of the writing process, and typing it out is just the dictation of it. So when it comes to your babies, you got to remember, at the end of the day, you're making it pretty. You're cleaning it up. So getting that scene out of there, that's for you, right? Oh, this scene, I don't want to get rid of the scene. That's for you. You're no longer working to make the narrative. You're not working for the narrative at that moment. You're working for you. You're like going, I need to keep why do I want to keep this scene? Because I wrote it. But in reality, how does it help the narrative, right? We talked about it yesterday. I don't know if you were on the show, but watch the live. But I talk about me perspective and we perspective. When you're writing, write with the we perspective when you're looking at those characters. How does this scene elevate the narrative, the characters involved, and really pull the story through? If at the end of the day, the real answer should be to get rid of it, because it's only serving our emotional connection to what we wrote. And what we wrote isn't always the right thing, right? That's why great writing is rewriting. We have to do the work to ultimately get rid of those babies. But I'll say this much. There are many scenes that I have written in the past that I either had to take out completely and never use again, or I had to move it to another story or another book and just sort of change slight beats from it. Because sometimes we have like these really great emotional ideas, or we have these really great action ideas, or we have this really great oh, that's a good payoff, and that's going to be people are going to love that moment. But in reality, we never know who's going to love what, and because everything is subjective, right? But you can always take those moments and just kind of keep them. I have a scene sheet that I have, and it just has a collection of sheets, scenes. And sometimes I go to it and I go, let me take a look see at this. But anyway, that's what I'm saying. Making sure your seeding is answered later. Oh yeah. That's why I really like short form, extended, and a zero draft, because I'm able to slowly but surely seed. Because sorry about that. What I like to do is, like, here's beep, 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 chapter. Oh, 1 second. So chapter. Okay, so chapter 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Beep, beep, beep. So if I'm writing, and in chapter 1, Thomas has a job at a local deli. Okay. And then, chapter 2 is the girl of his dream comes in, right? And then we have they run into each other at church. Not that I go to church, but I'm just, okay. And then they run into each other at church. Okay, great. All right, and then ultimately they go on a date. Okay, so if I'm looking at this like this would be considered short form outlining, right? So one of the things I could do is I go, oh, church, okay. So in this scene, or in this chapter, I should say, right? I would be like, I know I have to mention something about religion or something like that. Maybe Chris wears a cross. Okay. Cross? Yeah. A cross. Maybe it's an Italian deli, and there is a religious statue. Okay. On the wall. Okay. Right? If you're Italian, you know exactly what statue that is. Right? Then the girl of the dreams comes in, and you're like, well, I have to see that she is probably going to go to church. So maybe one of her, she's carrying several books. One of them is the study of theology. Okay. All right. So now basically what happened is I seeded the church. I've earned the right to have them run into each other at church, because I just went back. And that's the advantage of doing the broad general strokes, is like you could just see the beats and then see church. All right, let me make sure that I have seeded that enough. I've always found it harder to do that at the end of the day, where I'm like, let me write everything out. But while I'm writing, when I'm writing and I'm getting into my first and second drafts, as I'm reading it and I start finding certain things, I have a note sheet which will end up seeing me use eventually when we get to that stage. While I'm writing and taking notes, I might write down, this thing happened because I added it, because I was like, oh, this worked narratively, or I needed this narratively. So then my brain goes, okay, in the note sheet, I'll go back and mark down what chapters I need to seed something in. And then I'll go back to those chapters, and if it fits within that chapter, I'll add it. If it doesn't, I know that I have other options, other chapters. The other thing is consistency of clothing. Well, I'll say this much. Boop, 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 boop. Wait, let me take this off. So, Thomas, physical. He's physically there. His birthday, whatever. Is what I do, right? 5'9", 200 pounds. Yeah, that's right. I'm up. Okay. Brown, gray, hazel, clear. Okay. Pale death. All right. Whatever. And his weapon is long sword. Oh, wait. Long sword is one word. Okay. And then armor is leather. And then religion is tree gods. Okay. And then social status, a bum. Okay. But then, I have my sheets here. Like, what items are they wearing? Like, he has jeans, leather, boots, whatever. Okay. But I might write blue jeans and then boots. And then, the other thing, obviously, if I have any notes. So I like to keep track of that stuff. I'm like a super nerd with that. So that's how I get away with it. I keep track of every little thing because I'm crazy. Okay. All right. So that was that. Yeah, I usually take at least a fortnight between drafts. A fortnight. Oh, wait, we already do this. A fortnight, yeah. That's funny. I enjoyed my vampires much more. They were funnier. Sometimes humor really makes or breaks a story, is all I'm saying. All right. No, I wasn't here. Tristan and I started a writing and development group every Saturday, so I was there. So far, just the two of us, but I expect it will change in September. That makes me really happy. I'm completely satisfied the fact that you were able to miss the Saturday because you were working with Tristan, and you both are being proactive and creating opportunity and movement by starting a group. And I say it often, especially to clients, where I'm like, look, if you can't find something, start it up. Well, where am I going to start it? Well, anywhere that will accept it. You could start it online. You could start it at your house. You could start it at a local library. You could start it at a church or a temple or a synagogue. You could start it whatever. You could find a college that might be interested. Your job as an author is to find solutions by thinking outside the box in a proactive way, right? That's the entrepreneurial brain, finding solutions. And to see that you're doing that, I'm very proud of you. Very good. I assume editing will be the hardest part for me because I've already had to go back and edit what I've done so far a few times. I don't know if it'll be the hardest part, but I would say if you're not going back at all, that you have to edit. That's just comes down. You have to edit. You have to, even if you're not hiring editors yet, but you should. Eventually, if you can afford it. But every step even if we let's look at the process. Let's look at the process. If you're looking at this process after the first draft, look how many steps are in between the zero draft and the first draft. If you notice, the zero draft exists. That's what we're working on now. But then I'm going to go through my notes. I'm going to go through the character arcs, and I'm going to say to myself, where do I have every plot point and every element within these chapters? Am I seeding? Those are the things I would be looking for. I'd be taking notes. So as I'm reading, I'll be taking notes, especially if stuff is popping up. Then the next step would to take my notes, and I would have to go back and edit, adjust what I found. So based on the notes I take, I have to go in and adjust. I got to change names, name consistencies, the clothing thing. It would be something I would do, whatever the case is. After I'm done with that, I take the zero draft and I let alpha readers read it. And then based on their notes, I go back and I revise the outline and ultimately the zero draft. Okay. Before I even start my prose. So I'm basically cleaning up my zero draft by adding whatever I can. So it's like zero draft, A, B, C, and D, right? Then I start writing out the prose. And after that, I take my break like you're supposed to. And then I do the same thing. I take a bunch of notes and then I go back. And now I have to basically do first draft volume 2. Before I get the second draft, I take my personal notes and I'm basically editing first draft and adding things. I know it would be considered a new draft, but really I'm just revising the first draft and I'm adding what I need to before I get to what I call immersion and cleanup, which is another pass. That's when I'm going in and I'm looking at a pro because I've already handled all the fundamental stuff. Now I could go in there and go, what elements of immersion? Is there emotional? Is there internal? Is there, sight, sound? Well, everything is usually sight, but is there sound? Is there smell, taste? Where can I add tactile kind of elements to it? Do I have a spatial element? Is there a sense of time? That's what a second draft is for me. It's not me going, how do I make this better in the sense of taking the first note the first draft notes and go, let me make it bigger. No, these personal notes are to clean up my first draft before I allow myself to go in and have the freedom of immersion, and so forth and so forth. When I do the beta readers, it's the same thing. After the beta readers give me back their feedback, I'm not technically writing a third draft yet. I go through the second draft and I add the notes. I correct and adjust whatever the notes are. At the end of that, I am going into my third draft with polish. I'm going into it saying, all right, now it's my time to do the work after I have everything set because of the second draft. So it is a process, but at the same time, it really helps clean it up. I mean, by the time I'm done, my fourth draft, which is usually you should be done by the third draft, but this last revision, the fourth draft, is just it's so smooth, you know. Anyway, I hope that helped. And have more confidence in yourself, bro. I believe in you. I need to work on that too, as my characters are not often wearing clothes at the moment. Bow chicka bow wow, chicka bow wow, bow chicka bow wow, bow chicka bow wow. Pizza delivery. All right, that could pose a problem, Flowers. You need the clothes. My second draft is also my tidy up. After that is when it goes to the bottle readers. Well, yeah, again, if we look at my process, you know, technically, before it even reaches my alpha readers, I'm technically doing a few cleanups. You know what I'm saying? Like, I hand them a third version of a zero draft, you know? Then I basically revise my outline, and then, so that's going to be maybe the third version of the zero draft is what I end up turning it. I start writing a first draft. So it's like, you know, it is a process. So I would say by the time I'm on my second draft, I technically have written the book maybe 4 or 5 different ways, is what I'm saying. I haven't given them any. Clothes optional. That's a bit mean, Flowers. They'll be a little chilly. Has anyone started watching the Black Dagger? What is it called? The Black Dagger. The Black Dagger Brotherhood on Passion Flicks. Anyone? Just me? Just me? Is it just me? That's funny. They will. It's autumn. Ooh, but aren't they vampires? It's cold anyway. Chilly Willies. That's a pun. That's a dirty, dirty, dirty pun, Emma. Dirty. Dirty. The Chilly Willies. Anyway. Any other questions? Well, people are thinking of questions. Let me just do this again. If anyone is interested in taking the online ongoing class where it's just private, where we kind of all work together, I know I have a few people that have already sent me their information. Signing up for it does not put you on a mailing list. You'll just get information on the class. Basically, when the class will start. And you know, it's not a sign up to be like I'm committing to the class. It's ultimately I'm interested in the class and I just want to be aware of it so I can make a decision. Keep in mind it is ongoing, so if you don't join the first, you know, month or whatever the case is, you can join the second, third, fourth, or fifth month. You could join and drop out and come back. Because it's basically ongoing. It's a class that allows me to talk about some writing more specifically honed to what the students are dealing with at the time, but also for me to give you personal time and, you know, we could work on your story privately with the group. It will not be a YouTube thing. It'll be a Google Meets or something similar, like a Zoom or something. So it'll be more like a workshop class that is just ongoing as you work through your book. It'll be basically, it's like having a developmental editor working literally alongside you, but in a class kind of format. So, anyone watched Adapt Q or The Survivors? No, I haven't. But what is it about? What is it about? Shorten names. MC1 refers to his friend Celeste as Cece or C in dialogue. In his narrative, should he refer to her? Oh, okay. All right. So this is a great question. In narrative, refer to the character by their full name because it isn't technically a discussion of the name. In dialogue, you can use the shorthand names. However, there is a caveat to that. If you're writing in first person, the narrative can use nicknames because they could be like, oh, CC always doing XYZ. It's hard to deal with him, but at least we got through that meeting. Like, you can have that sort of thing. If it is thought dialogue, meaning it's italicized and it is literally internal thought, you can indeed use short form. But if it is in straight narrative where it's like, Melissa sat at her desk, you wouldn't say Mel, unless, of course, you establish the character through the nickname. So if Mel is how you create or establish that in the narrative, but other people call them Melissa through dialogue, you can do that too. For example, my name is Thomas, and I prefer the name Thomas or Tommaso. However, people call me Tom. But maybe I prefer the name Tom. So since that's my primary version of the name within the narrative now, Tom, either Thom, because that would be the shorthand of Thomas, or Tom for the shorthand of Tommaso, right? So Tom is fine, but you have to establish that as the character's main name, and then other characters can say whatever they want. So keep that in mind. So narrative is just whatever establishes their identity, their identifier. Unless it is through literally the POV of a character and they are thinking it and or it's first person. I hope that helped. I wish I could, but I wish I could. Why is my dyslexia? One second. Wish I could, but missing half because of work schedule doesn't make sense. Oh, I see what you're saying. Oh, okay. Oh, with the class. Yeah. Missing. But to be fair, if you did join the class and since whatever the price is for X amount of classes, you wouldn't lose those classes. They would just be held. So like if you pay for the month and you get the 4 classes or whatever it is, and you only do 2, you have 2 you can jump on and do. So it works like that. So you don't lose class days if you join. Basically, you're what you pay for is those slots, and then you could utilize those slots. If you do 1 a month, you can technically do that. I would be completely okay with that. So if your worry is about missing them and feeling like you're going to lose them, at the same time you wouldn't, or at least I know I wouldn't delete them from existence. Already saving up for the second month's worth of class. Excellent. I appreciate that, Ro. Yeah, again, I'm not rushing into it, so there's still some time to decide. I'm just trying to organize everything into place. Remember, tomorrow I start my in-person writing class at the library, so I'll be doing that every Monday. It's just I would like to sort of have an outlet, an extra kind of way for people to get to be able to work on their stories outside of something like this, and to have somebody kind of like helping and guiding them. Department Q about a missing attorney. And then survivors about the death of 2 men during a rescue, a missing girl, and a murdered of a girl in prison. Ooh, that does sound interesting. That's what I thought. Just checking. It's first. So if he establishes her as CC early on, he can stay with that. MC2 calls her by her full name. If the narrative establishes the character as CC. So for example, if CC walked onto the screen, real quick. Very simple. If it goes... the door opened, blasting the last of light into the room. Cece dodged out of the way, crouching behind the cold, safe shadow of dark, radiating from the coffin. Coffin. Okay. The narration is establishing CC as their name, so that is the identification marker. If CC, like CC doesn't, CC could be like, you know, what are you doing, CC? Right? You know, Raven asked. Okay, and then I told you. It's C Dominus, right? I hate CC. Okay, if you did that, you can still refer to them as CC because that is the identifier. So they themselves do not have to create the identifier, okay? Because dialogue is separate from narrative. The narrative is what creates the identifier. So if the first time you introduce that character, they're introduced as CC, now it's always going to be CC in the narrative, which means I wouldn't do it like this, but CC said. Okay? Even if it was like this, like hate that name. CC said. Okay, because the narration would still identify them as CC, even though they are literally saying it's C Dominus or whatever. You know, I'm just making a name up. But that would be how you approach it. And the reason for that is the identify just makes it always clear for the reader. But you know, when it comes to dialogue, characters could be like, you know, they could call them whatever they want. They could call him whatever they want. Right, left here.com. Okay, I'm sorry. It's a right, left here. Do you got it? Do you got it? Right, left here. Sorry, I'm crazy. I'm so loco. Loco. Anyway. All right. I guess, oh, wait. Let's talk about, let's do we got next week. What do we got next week? Next week. What is today? Today is the 8th? This month is gone already. Jesus. All right. All right. So Wednesday, the Wednesday premiere video at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time will be about the business of writing, building your author platform. We will discuss the importance of social media, a website, email list, etc. And then on Friday, Friday will be a video from the Epic Fantasy series, the autonomy of Epic Fantasy World. Basically explore. It's going to be about the elements that make up a compelling or interesting or a complete fantasy world, including geography, history, etc., magic, cultures. So that'd be exciting. Then next Saturday, is another Rewrite the Great series. We will be looking at Melissa Blair, A Broken Blade. And then, of course, Sunday will be episode 23 of the Write a Series. Ooh, sounds like a good episode. Oh, the business one? Yes. I had a lot of fun filming that like eight last year. Some of these videos, I look at myself, I'm like, wow. You can look at the different beards, you know, depending on the video. You can see when I filmed it. It's very funny. Yeah, we are on the 23rd episode next week of this series, the Write a Book Movie. And by the way, I've talked about this in the past, but as a little motivational boost, yeah, almost half the year, right? 26 will be right there. We have been writing this together, right? I've been working on this and teaching it, and I do about an hour of writing in some way or somehow, right? Okay, Beard Watch 2025. That's funny. But at the end of the day, if we look at that, that's 22 hours of writing I have been doing. Okay, 22 hours, and I'm already on the zero. I'm on chapter 3 of the zero draft. So if you put that in perspective, if I worked, let's see, if I worked, say, 2 hours a day, so 2 times 10 is 20 hours a week. So if we put this into perspective, if I had worked on this for 2 weeks, I'd be in the same spot. Okay, so even though it's almost half a year right now, if I did focus writing on this and I worked on it and I just every day, or rather I should say, well, let me because I work 7 days a week, so 14 times 2, so 28. Oh, I'd probably be further because I would have extra time added on. But just as if you're consistently writing, as we are doing once a week with this, you'll get further than you think. And for us to be this far, and if you just think, oh, if I write every day, or if I write every other day, if I write 2 times a week, it doesn't matter how many times you write, as long as you write something somewhere somehow, and you just stay consistent with that time, with that block, whatever the case may be, you're going to get through your novel. Your novel is going to get finished. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. It's all about, taking the time. It's not about taking your time. It's about taking the time that's right for you, your situation, your comfortability. It's not about trying to be overwhelmed and beat everybody. Oh, let me get a book out. Let me get a book out. Look at me. I'm writing a 15-book epic fantasy saga broken into 3 series, and each series has 5 books in it. I'm waiting till the first 5 books are completed before I release the books. Okay? Does that mean I'm not a writer? Does that mean I'm not an author? Does that mean I'm not working? Does that mean I'm not doing my job? Does that mean, right? Am I better or worse than someone else? Oh, I'm supposed to have product, right? No, but I'm writing the self-help books. Well, they're done, but I'm editing, I'm formatting the self-help books. One of them's being recorded for audio right now. I also have been working on the how to outline book and how to write prose book. So those are going to come out before the epic fantasy. But the point is, like, you don't always have to rush to get your book out just to be like, I have a book, therefore I'm a writer. I'm an author. Look, I have a book. I have 2 books. No, I have 3 books. It's not really about that. It's about taking the time you need to get through it. Now, obviously, if you're on a deadline because you got a publishing deal, for me, when I worked in television or film, there were deadlines. They were like, we need it by then. But then you schedule yourself to do it how you want to do it, and you work within the stipulated contractual deal. But when you're in control of it and you're handling your business and you're not dealing with a deadline, it's good to give yourself a deadline as a self-publisher. But what's my deadline? When my books are done for the series, I will release the first 5 books. Then I'll work on the next 5 books. But as a gift to myself, in a sense, I'm going to write other books around that I do publish that are one-offs, or they're a part of a series, but they're not the epic fantasy. Because I made a promise to myself not to fall into the George R.R. Martin thing. Because if I end up releasing the first of the 3 series, and it's all 5 books, it ends. Like, you don't have to read the other 2 series and be like, oh, I missed out. No, look, I got a complete story. Here it is. So when people get pressured into, like, it's like when I first started acting. Oh, have you been in anything I seen? And it's like, no. When I first started doing music. Oh, have I anything I've heard? No. What about comedy? Oh, have you performed anywhere that I might have seen you? If you don't know, what do you ask? Did you see me perform? If no, then what's your question? Like, people like to put that kind of pressure on us artists, and it's not really what it's about. Using this, I'm quite happy with what I've got. Clear plan. When I let someone read part, I could see in their eyes the emotion I pulled from them. Ooh, yeah, that's always really nice, especially when you're sitting with them and they're just like, this is ooh. I love when they laugh or when they go, like when they make some sort of reaction. That's always good. I just got a really nice note from one of my alpha readers for book 2 of the Epic Fantasy series. They read the prologue, whatever, and I was like, look, this is a 0 draft. Okay, it's a 0 draft. And they wrote no notes, 10 out of 10. this was solid. It was everything it needs to be, and that was a really great feeling because he's not one to hold back on notes. Like he definitely will give his opinions, and he really does a nice kind of like notating. He'll say like clarity, and then he'll explain what he needs clarity on. Or he'll say interesting. I really hope this builds to something. Or he'll say character development. Why is this going to be a normal behavior, or like, or something he mentioned the other day. He was like, I've already kind of read your book, and I'm like rereading the more like your fourth draft version, and he's like, what's nice is I remember this character from Act 2 so vividly, and to see him in this other environment being like relaxed and joking and laughing and a part of his group, and I realized for a second I was like, maybe it's not the same character, but then I was like, wait, it is the same character, because when they're in the city, of course they're reserved, of course they're cautious, of course they're on high alert, they're out of their element. And he was like, you can see the character in both, but it was really nice to see the contrast. And those are the kind of notes that are really helpful, like that you know that you're doing your job and stuff like that. But to Cindy's point, that's what I'm basically jumping off of. It's really a good feeling to have somebody that is open, honest, but also has these emotional reactions to it, and that definitely fuels you, because it's like when I wrote a play that we were turning into a movie that I was going to film before COVID, and then that all went. But it was called Letter of Reason, which I might end up releasing as a book, but just in screenplay form. And this particular story was on the news, and I got a lot of great responses from it, because I originally had it as a theater play. And but anyway, when we were getting ready for the movie, we did table reads, and we had people come in that weren't a part of it, so we can sort of see how they react to it. And people were crying while reading it. They didn't, not even at the end, just like while reading it, they started crying, and then at the end, they were just like, "Oh my god!" And that kind of feeling, when you can incite such emotion, I think it's a strong indicator that the words are working. I like those kind of books, reading screenplays. Yeah. It's just something that came to me because like I own books like that. Like I own The Shawshank Redemption. I own Shakespeare in Love, but like it's just the screenplay. And I was like, oh wait, I could release those too. And I have whole stories. I have whole. I could literally release like maybe 20 or 30 books right now because they're just completed, worked screenplays. But again, it is a different kind of read. It lacks immersion and stuff like that. But it is but I might do that with the Letter of Reason. I'm really close to that story. It's close to my heart because I've been mostly involved in interracial relationships. In that sense, I've been in both worlds. And the kind of way the love story. It's a love story, but it's a really fun story. What's this? But it lets your imagination do the immersion. Well, yeah. Again, if you're writing it, that's the thing. Like, one of the reasons I feel my dialogue and characterization gets a lot of positive feedback in the books is because a lot of my writing was in screenwriting at first, and like dialogue needs to do the work. Like if dialogue is just informing exposition, it's not doing the work. Dialogue is what we don't, what we put in books, where it's like, how the character's behaving, like we're physically watching the character behave, what they're noticing. Like you don't get that in a screenplay. The dialogue needs to do that heavy lifting. And it was a real good workshop, a good gym to work in, where I had to allow my dialogue to be strong. Whereas like action is just like, it clarifies what's on the screen, Melissa, 28, walks into a room, dressed in business casual, her shoulders back, and avoiding showing any weakness in a room filled with male stockbrokers. Like that would be like what's in a screenplay. But you would never write that in that long form narrative. You would just show her dealing with the internalized truth of that environment and showing her behavior kind of compensating for whatever the uncomfortableness is. But anyway. All right, I guess that's it. 2 hours. Boom, done. All right. Boop. This bearded man. Oh, by the way, I'm going to have a new camera next week, so hopefully we're going to get rid of this glitch. Maybe the picture will look a little bit better, so we'll see what happens. With that said, I guess that's everything, right? We did the make a right left here. We did this. Now we're on to the last thing. Here we go, everybody. I'm Thomas J. Bellezza. I gotta go. I gotta get some lunch. It's 4 o'clock. So, thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting. Thank you for the love. As always, keep developing the right mindset. I'll see you next time. Bye.